So lambdas, like there are, it's a feature of Java 8. So like it has came up with many of the benefits. So one of the benefit is like it has minimized the number of code. So like we are having the it has came up with the increasing the readability. Like they are anonymous, like in the term of like they don't care about the function name, and they just do the precise thing like.
Okay, I'll give you one statement.
Okay.
So you have to build all the languages using Lambda, and you need to write the code in chatbot on it.
Sure. So this is using the stream API of the Java 8. Like we can have converted into a list, and we are just opening the stream over there, and we are just applying the for each loop and just printing the value.
So what are different kinds of streams we have?
Okay, so we are having int stream. If I'm not wrong, like int stream mainly be performing the sorry.
Like parallel stream, sequential stream. How many types of streams we have?
Sure. So one is a sequential stream, which is I have written here. One we have parallel streams, so which perform the parallel computations, and apart from that, only these two streams I know. Yeah.
How this parallel stream works internally?
How lambda works internally?
Parallel stream.
Okay.
Works internally.
Sure. So parallel stream, what parallel stream is doing here, like it will like your list will be divided into like once you have opened the parallel stream with any kind of list, then your list will be divided into the multiple chunks, which is like the available cores you are having in your CPU. And according to that, like they will be that will be assigned to different threads, and once that threads their threads run independently, and once everything gets completed, they merge their result, and they just give you final output.
Okay. I've given you one more set of statements. Just have a look if there is any issue in these statements. Remaining statement I'll find them, what will be output.
Sure. So you are having stream is equals to list dot stream. So you are opening the stream on a list, and you are filtering something. So stream dot filter some filter. Okay, so it will accept the predicate, and then you are applying the map. Okay, so you are trying to convert this to another kind of then collectors dot to list. It will return a list, Mitesh, because you are converting to list, and then you are then for each loop. I don't think it will work because you have terminated like stream is equals to list dot stream. So as we know, like string can be it will create every time a new list, then that you are not holding anywhere that itself. So dot for each I don't think will print anything.
So what will it will give compile time or give runtime error?
So let me again go through it. So string dot for each list dot stream you have opened this. Actually I don't think there is any compilation or runtime error, because you are having stream. Okay, so you are having stream, then sorry.
But you mentioned it will throw error.
No, it won't. It won't throw any kind of exception or any kind of error. But you are doing filtering and something like mapping over there, but you are not holding in any another list, right? So the original stream will not change, and the output will be original stream only, like the whatever the original list there. So that only be going to print.
Last.
Sorry.
the last line, right?
Yes, in the last line only.
Okay, so suppose we had 5 objects in the first line, okay, the list.
Okay.
Then two got filtered out in the second line. Then how many will be printed in the last line?
Okay, so you are having initially 5 items in the original list, and you are performing the filter in the second line, and you are asking me like how many elements will be printed at the final line number 3, right? So so it's going to print 5 elements itself, I think.
5.
Yeah.
Okay. Find first versus find any.
Find first, like something like you are having the list, and you want to find, like you have performed many of the operation and you want to get the first element from the result, so you should use the find first. And find any something like like it can give you any random element from that particular result.
In which scenario you will have to find first? In which scenario you will have to find any?
So find any, let me think.
Have you used it?
Find any? No, actually I don't think. Find first is there. None match. Find none match is there.
Okay, tell me one thing. There is a Java 14.
Huh?
Why you have chosen Java 14, not Java 11? Java 11 is LTS.
Yes.
Java 14, not at all LTS. You know, right?
Yes. So like the,
Java 14.
Mhm. So the reason being chosen the latest version of Java might be like they have improved their, they are constantly working on the memory related stuff. So like the garbage collection and the memory related stuff they have implemented, like they are improving them in every version. Yeah, it's there, but yeah, that's in all incremental version we are having. So the one of the major advantage with this using Java 14 is like whenever we get any kind of exception, so we are having the more user friendly exception over there. So like whenever if you are getting null pointer exception, then it will also mention like for which reason you are getting null pointer exception. So
Because Java 14 is not LTS. You know what is LTS?
LTS, could you,
Long-term support.
long-term support? Yeah.
Java 14 is not long-term support.
Yeah, it's not, but the
Production IT, you should use only LTS. This is what Oracle recommended.
yes, I got it. Yeah, you are correct here. Yeah.
New feature found in Java 14.
So Java 14 has one I have mentioned, like more user friendly exceptions. Apart from that, like they have done something in the switch statement itself. So like we can use the lambda along with the switch statement. So we do not need to write many of the lines of code over there. We just have to provide the arrow function and we can just good to go. Like we can return the result from with the lambda expression itself.
Interface you can pass, right?
Sorry.
Interface, you mean to say.
Yeah, like in switch statement, like we can use lambda over there.
Okay, what is the difference between abstraction and encapsulation?
Abstraction and encapsulation. So encapsulation is something like wrapping up the data and function into a single unit. So like you are having a class is one of the example of encapsulation. So in the encapsulation you are holding the data members and methods. And like abstraction is something like you want to hide the background detail and you just want to show the essential details to the end user. Let's say for example, like you are having a ATM, like you are creating a banking application.
Got it.
Yeah.
What are solid principles?
So solid principles are like they are some principles which every developer should follow. So the S stands for single responsibility. Each class should have a single responsibility, and there should be only single reason to change it. And then O stands for open for extension and close for modification. like your class should be expandable enough, like in future whenever you want to expand your class scale, you want to scale your I for interface segregation, L for Lisco substitution.
Can you explain
I is Lisco substitution, yeah. So you are the child. Okay, interface segregation, yeah. So in your application you should create multiple interfaces, like the interfaces, the method you have put inside the interfaces, that should be tightly coupled. They can be tightly coupled, but you should not you should not create only one interface for all the requirements. You should divide multiple interfaces like for the module. So interface segregation is like create as much as example. Okay, sure.
Can you give some example?
Yeah, sure. So like you are having let's say you are having one of the interface, like let's say the task of that interface is to is to load something from internet and just save into database. Now you have to perform many of the operations on the data itself, so you should not create everything in that interface only. You should divide that interface separately, and you should introduce one more interface which is capable of adding those functionality. Because the advantage methods will be here, like you have put every methods in one interface, then whenever any class implements that interface, they have to implement all the interface, all the classes, and even all the methods. And if you are not providing, like they are not abstract methods, even they will be implicit. Yeah.
So what is the difference between them?
Difference between
I have given you the statement in chat box. What is the difference between them?
Sure.
Just keep open chat box.
Yeah, sure, it's okay. So like here, like you are using the list and question mark super T and list question mark extend. So like these are the upper bounds and lower bounds. So like super is known as a lower bound. So like whenever the first statement is going to accept everything which is the parent of T type, and the second one, like it's extend, so it's upper bound, so all the subclasses of the T type will be accepted here, including that class itself.
Okay. Heap versus stack.
Sure. So heap memory, heap memory and stack memory. Okay. So like first difference is, like what I have read about is, like garbage collection works on only heap memory. It does not work on the stack memory. Now another difference is, like the stack memory is used to hold the reference which are pointing to the heap memory, and also the static variables and all the intermediate result. Like you are using recursion, so all the intermediate result will be held in the stack memory. What holds heap memory is, like every object you have created with a new keyword, that will be held into heap memory. Another difference is, like stack follows the FIFO, the first in LIFO, last in first out. And also the heap memory is managed, like it depends on the developer, like how they are going to create object and how they are going to manage and how they are going to destroy. So it depends on the developer. Another difference, yeah.
Okay, alright. So what does this mean if I write statement like this? Read it, right?
Yeah, array, new array list.
What does this mean?
It means, like you are providing the size, like of your list, like the initial size, like the, as we know, like the whenever the we create the instance of an array list. So the initial memory is been occupied in the main memory, and the size is 10, I guess, for array list. So if you have mentioned your size over there, so only the two the size would be assigned in the memory will be 2 only. So this is a good practice, like if we know the size in advance, we should specify. So list versus set, sure. So list is like list interface is used for where it allows duplicate elements. but it allows duplicate elements. Also, it provides you the ordering will be preserved here in the set interface. They does not allow duplicate, and also the ordering they do not guarantee about the ordering. Another difference is like list provide you the index based searching, whereas the set does not provide the index based searching. So these are the major difference between these two.
How set maintains uniqueness of elements?
Sure. So set internally uses the hash map as its implementation. So whenever you try to put set.add, so it internally uses the hash map, and whatever you have put inside set as an element, that element will be put as a key in a hash map. As we know, like the hash map does not allow the duplicate. In the same way, like set will not allow the duplicate elements over there. There is a constant variable like present. It will compare every time that variable with present.
What is closable interface?
Yeah, closable interface is something like which we can use as a Java like try with resource. So whatever the methods we are whatever the reference we are using there, that should be implement the auto closable. So that should be used there.
Multi-threading?
Yeah, multi-threading I have exposure.
What is the difference between synchronize and locks?
So synchronization is something like you have a block and you have specified the like synchronize keyword over there, and you have opening and curling braces over there, and you can specify the lock on which you are trying to put. So the object level locking you are trying to put, or whether you are trying to put the class level lock, and then you are having the locks. So locks are like we are having the re-entrant lock, something like. So the major advantage of using that, like you can even like you are having synchronized block, so that must be in the continuous manner. Like you cannot do something like in one statement over there and you can put another statement on another method. It's not like that. But with the help of lock, like you are having some set of you have applied some of the lock over there, and even you can unlock that in another method only, another method itself. So these are the flexibility which is provided.
I've given you one more problem statement. Just tell me how you are going to solve.
Sure. So you are having an array of duplicate elements, okay? Then you are having okay. So for these, like first of all, this is a unique elements. I think 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7. These are the unique elements. Like you have provided an array which is having the duplicate elements and which are not in the order. So we need output as an order manner, and we should also not include the duplicate elements. So for that, like we can use the we simply remove the duplicate first of all, and we can use the linked we can use the tree set over here that will perform the natural sorting order. So we can do that. There can be multiple ways. Sorry.
Okay. What is the immutability concept?
Immutability.
Please repeat it.
So immutability is something like whenever once you create the instance, so you are not able to modify that instance. So like there are some situations like if you talk about the string class itself, so string is an immutable class. So like we are sure about its mutability. So like it's it can be work in multi-threaded environment and it's safe. Like you are sure, like once you have created the instance of the immutable class, they are not going to change. So like string is one of the immutable class. So like whenever you have assigned one of the value, then that value won't be changed. A new memory will be created in the string constant pool itself. So yeah, so it provides the
Okay. So we'll move to Spring.
Sure.
In Spring, what are the different ways to load your application? But either application to YAML.
So application.yml is one of the way. Another way, like you can provide the properties file. Application.properties file is there.
What are the? Are you getting my voice clear? There's some issue.
Your voice I am getting a bit low, I guess. Can you please come again?
Maybe you
Let
the volume.
my volume is 100. Let me put my headphones. Yeah. Can you please come again? Yeah, Mitesh. Please go ahead. Okay. Sure. Okay. So for YML file, I am dealing with the properties file, like application.properties. But for that, like, you have to provide data source. Sorry, not data source, property source. So in the property source, you have to specify the name of your YML file, and you can use the value annotation, and you can specify inside double quote curly braces, you can specify the property you want to access, like candidate.name, and colon, you if you want to provide any default value, you can provide the colon over there, and you can just specify if that particular property is not found, then the default value will be loaded over there, and you can hold into. So I have dealt with mainly the post, get, and put method. These methods I have dealt. So idempotent Mitesh is something like that does not change anything externally. So like every time, like, you request for the data, like, you will get the same response at all the time. So they are not going to modify it. So that's why they are known as idempotent. For these, like, one, you have to use the request param, so that the query parameter you have passed, like name equals to Sunil. So like the first statement, you have to use the request param over there to fetch the name attribute, the value of name attribute. For second, like, you have to use the path variable, because you have to extract the value from the path itself. No, get method won't have any kind of body. So propagation labels, like, there are propagation.required is there, propagation.mandatory is there, propagation.support is there, propagation.not supported is there, propagation.mandatory is there, propagation.requires new is there. So these are the sure. So the mandatory is something like there are two ways. Like, first way is like, if your method is directly been called, and then it will create it will throw you exception, because that should always be run into a transaction, because it's mandatory, right? So if you are having a method which is calling the another method, and you have not provided any kind of transaction over there in the calling method, so it's going to throw you exception. But if you are having the transaction over there, so then it will reuse the transaction, it will perform its transaction. And another, you asked about mandatory and requires new is something like, whenever you are having one transaction, and you are having you are having one method which is calling the another method, and that method has the requires new, then it will always create a new transaction. Sure. So isolation label are something like one is phantom read, if I am not wrong, and second level is let me think. One is a phantom. Like, the phantom is something like, whenever you are trying to get the data, and the table rows are getting increased or decreased, so that kind of read are known as the phantom read. Another are the, whenever we are one transaction has updated the value, and you are trying to get that unupdated value, like the unupdated record you are holding. So that term I don't did. Sorry. Yeah, uncommitted record. Yeah. And another thing is, like, I think read something like read write something. I'm not able to recall it right now, but yeah. Yes. So yeah. So yeah, Mitesh. So like, proxy, as its name suggests, something like I'm not aware of the proxy design pattern because I have mainly deal with the creational design pattern. But proxy is something like with help of in context of Hibernate I know like how it works. But like proxy is something like which is yeah, sure. So there is a kind of the proxy which is like we are the load method, something like we have to read the data from the database. So like it uses the lazy loading. So like it uses proxy concept over here. So like whenever it finds any kind of record in the cache, then it will return you the result. If it does not find the record in the cache, then it will look up into the database. If it doesn't find any kind of data in the database itself, then it will throw exception. JPA, yeah, Java Persistence API. So like I am using the yeah. So cascading is something like you are having the two kind of table, like two tables, and you want to truncate one table, and simultaneously you want to truncate all the dependent tables. So you can use the cascade over there. So all the childs on all the dependent tables will be truncated itself. I have exposure to PostgreSQL, and in my previous organization I was using MySQL, so I have exposure to both of the databases, MySQL and Postgres. Okay, sure. Select age, maximum salary. You are using maximum max. Let me think, Nitesh, because I have used this kind of queries, but I have always used the group by. Sorry. Okay. Yeah, sure. So like max you are using here, so it should return you the maximum salary and the age, but you should have used the group by. I think we are using monolithic architecture here. Yeah, I have exposure. Like we got one of the project for microservice based architecture, but it was for short duration, not for the long duration. Like it was for 7 to 8 months. So I have been mainly involved in the writing the RESTful web services. So I know about the architecture, how the API gateway works, and how Educa client works. Like this kind of stuff I know. So like the setup part, if you talk about the setup, and also these were totally been done by already. We have got the project which are already been implemented in microservices. We need to add some functionality over there. But if you talk about the challenges in the microservice based architecture, so I think the transactional it's way up on my mind. Like if you are having the two transactions, right? You are having the two database in the same server itself. But how you are going to manage the transaction? So transaction could be a complex thing over there, and I never done, but there are like Mockito framework is there, and some kind of tools are there, like libraries are there by which we can perform unit testing.